In most cases, you do have to miss your payment, and that's one of the hardest conversations to have with people. As a lawyer, I need to say to you, look, you need to stop making your mortgage payment for me to help you. You know, it seems kind of strange, but we have lenders all the time tell us, your client's current, we won't even open a short sale file unless they're 30, 60, 90 days behind. And we know that there truly is a hardship there. As far as, you know, what we do to kind of get them ready, a lot of what we talked about here, you know, explaining that, look, this will cost you money. I used to tell people, short sale's great, doesn't cost you a penny, you walk away. I can't say that anymore, because between the various levels of contribution and the paying of various fees that won't be covered, you know, I have people that have to come out of pocket. Last night, I'm coming home, and I got an email from the negotiator on a deal. And selling a property for $180,000. We're now on our third contract, and the negotiators everything's been approved. Negotiator comes back and says the mortgage insurance company wants a $25,000 contribution from your client.
Contribution?
Contribution from my seller.
Because of the short sale on the second mortgage.
No, not even a second mortgage,
first?
just one mortgage on it. They apparently think, now, they have my client's self-employed. They have my client's tax returns for the last 2 years. They have his bank statements. They have his pays. They know what he makes. They know what he has. And they're asking him for $25,000. He didn't have $25,000. If he did, he would be paying that to me all this time. So, that's, you know, that's one thing I tell them now is, look, you gotta be aware that, you know, it's very likely you have to come up with money. I don't want to see it now, but are you going to be able to find some money if we need it? Are you going to be able to get out of here in a hurry if we get this thing approved? You know, a lot of flexibility is needed. And just a lot of understanding of the process, because, well, as a buyer, you guys are looking at it and you're going, all right, this is frustrating, I really want this, whatever your emotions are. Got to remember what the seller's going through. They're going through the same kinds of emotions, but on top of that, they're losing their house, their credit is being destroyed, their financial future is in doubt. They don't know if they'll ever be able to buy a place or rent a place for that matter. So they have a lot going on top of that. So we try to deal with that the best we can, and a lot of times it really helps, you know, when Bert, the agent, you know, kind of goes in. First of all, if they need the reality check. Look, you're never going to sell this thing and make money. You're going to take a hit. Your credit's going to suck when this is done. You know, we got to say it a little nicer than that, I guess, but you kind of have to lay it out there so they understand and say, here's your options. And I tell people all the time, you know, don't do anything. I had a client yesterday, and we decided to drop the short sale altogether and let the property go into foreclosure.
So I was just going to ask, does that throw a wrench for the buyer if in the middle of this,
sure,
they declare bankruptcy or
any one of those things? And so now on that particular deal, I have to send a letter to the other attorney, we're a month in, and say, sorry, deal's dead, which we have the right to do because, of course, foreclosure judgment has now been entered. So I can't get an approval letter now. Could I possibly do it? Yeah, if my client wanted to stick around and we can fight for 6 months, maybe we can do it, maybe we couldn't. But we're not going to be able to meet the deadlines in the contract, so now we have to cancel. That doesn't happen often, but this just happened yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. So those things happen. So again, that's one more thing we didn't mention, is you guys could be, you're up to $145,000, and let's say time's run out. That foreclosure process takes a long time in Illinois. You know, it could be a couple of years or longer, depending on how slow the bank is and the courts are. But once a judgment is entered or a sheriff's sale is set, you may not be able to continue those things. Property may be lost. And I've had that happen to buyers, you know, as well, where you come in late in the deal, and if they can't get everything together in time, they lose the property to the bank beforehand. So,
What about the foreclosure process? Is it as miserable as this? As a short sale?
I often tell my clients going through a foreclosure is a lot less painful than going through a short sale. Because the truth is, If your house is being foreclosed upon, you can bury your head in the sand and do absolutely nothing. You can live there without paying your mortgage, 2 years, 3 years. I've had clients that have been in their places for a couple of years, stop making payments, and they still haven't gotten foreclosure notices from the banks. Because, things fall through the cracks, they had problems with the robo-signing issues. There's a number of reasons why banks, are going slow on doing some of these foreclosures. So, in some cases, people come out way ahead. I mean, again, they lose a property to foreclosure, their credit is going to be horrible. But if you could live in the place that you're living in for the next 3 years without making any mortgage payments and save all that money.
Yeah, but let's say it is foreclosed on, how does that work in terms of the selling
You're
process?
talking about a bank-owned property that's for sale.
Which would be a foreclosure, right?
Yeah, well, I call it
Bank takes
bank-owned.
it.
It's
Bank-owned
already
REO,
been
yeah.
through foreclosure.
Okay.
Now the bank has taken title to the property and has put it on the market,
Right.
through a real estate agent.
Right.
Yes, that's totally different, and it's a quicker process.
It can be a much quicker process because you're not negotiating with the bank other than the initial contract. And of course, Bert knows there's no negotiating there because those prices are usually so low. You're getting it for dirt cheap, you're buying it as is, they're not going to warrant or represent anything, they're not going to fix anything, they're not going to pay any of the fees. You want it, you take it, and we want to close very quickly.
On their terms.
On their terms.
So does the bank set up, they have an appraisal done as is, and then that's what they
Well,
have you listed
they
at?
do all that before they put it back on the market.
Right.
So they
what-
already know what's the value.
So there's no
is.
negotiating there?
Not much, usually.
No,
And
very,
all-
very little negotiating typically on those deals.
In a lot of those situations, all the utilities are shut off, it's been winterized. So you couldn't test anything, so that's a different process as a buyer. You gotta make sure that all that stuff gets turned on, so you can actually test the systems and have a home inspection.
Is it possible though, if you're my agent, that you make me aware immediately as soon as something goes right on, it's just been released from the bank as a foreclosure before all of that happens?
All the banks I'm aware of are all listing their properties on the multiple listing service. There's no secret inventory that they're trying to sell.
No, not secret inventory, but just like, 2932, we just, the judgment went in, we're foreclosing as of today, and now you know about it.
No, because there's a process
Yeah.
that takes time for the bank to actually get the title. There may be past due taxes that they have to clear title and have everything set before they put it on the market, and that takes some time.
It takes time.
Well, and that's why you still have people that are still in there that haven't moved out, right?
Correct.
Or by this time, they've pushed them out, or,
Not always.
so they can live in there while the bank owns it and it's foreclosed on?
In some cases, not typically. Here's what happens, okay? I'll try to do this as short as I can because it's a lot more complicated than this. You go through the whole court system with the foreclosure process. There's a judgment entered. Judgment says, foreclosure, we get the property back. But they don't really get the property back until they have a sheriff's sale. They bid at the sheriff's sale, the bank does, and they get an actual deed. Then at that point, they own the property. But if somebody's in there, then they have to get the sheriff to go throw people out of there.
Right.
At that point, they hire a real estate company. There's companies that specialize in this. They'll go in, they'll winterize the place, they'll board it up, they'll try and clean it up to the best they can, and then they will work to get it ready so that they can list it. And that process can take anywhere from a couple of months to over a year. Then when they get it listed, then it shows up on the MLS. So there could be a long period of time. So yeah, you can look at foreclosures that are filed, or judgments that are entered, or sheriff sales that go through.